Hey everybody, welcome to Versus. I'm Alan Ng, the editor-in-chief of Film Threat. Chris is not here; he's away for personal reasons. And so, look, you got me. Think of it like a year ago, the way things were back then. We turned this music down, but we got a great host of guests here. Guests of hosts, I don't know. We got, and we're talking about Ironheart. We're talking about F1. We're talking about weekend box office, and we're talking about the premiere of the trailer of what some have said to be the best movie of the year, and hopefully that trailer reflects that. But with that, let's get this show started. Yeah, turn the music off. All right, hey, welcome everybody. Let's go around the let's go around the horn. Introduce yourselves, and here we go. Do it.
Oh, Angry Badger, hi. Can't wait. I'll be playing the part of old white man because Robert's young forever. Happy birthday, Robert. Yeah, let's go. Can't wait to talk about it.
Hello, I'm Elaine at Nerd Cookies here on YouTube, and I'm currently basking in the glory of F1 and the Project Hail Mary trailer. So excited to talk about it.
All right.
Robert Burnett here on loan from the Burnett work. I with Nerd Cookies, we both great minds think alike. Can't wait to talk about Project Hail Mary.
All right. You're muted.
Yep.
Mike, you're muted. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm boomerang today. Second of all, I don't know why they keep bringing me back on this show. I'm always amazed when I get the invite. Third, I'm wearing sunglasses not to look cool, but because I didn't sleep last night and it's hiding the bags under my eyes. There we go.
Steph, my nerdy home. I need to see F1. Apparently, it's very, very good.
Go
and
see it.
I'm just entertaining myself with Ironheart, which is slowly killing me.
All right. Well, we're all here. Let me sorry, I'm hitting buttons. Just a quick reminder to go to shop.filmthreat.com. I would bring up the website, but for some reason it's not coming up on my computer. But shop.filmthreat.com, way to support Film Threat, your super chats as well. Anything you could do to keep us going, that would be awesome. But with that transition, let's get into the box office.
Pivot.
I know. For some reason, my computer's decided to slow down.
Yeah, Steph, F1, I'll evangelize for a second. It is amazing. It's an almost perfect movie because I know perfection isn't a thing, but it is a thing. Go see it. It needs to be seen on the big screen. You feel it. The Hans Zimmer is just goated, takes it to another level. Yeah, it's an absolute treat that we got that movie.
All right. So speaking of which, here's the box office. Let's see. Let's take a look. Leading off the weekend, the weekend winner is F1. F1 the movie. Warner Brothers, 57 million domestic. I believe we are at. Let me just get the international in here as well. International brings in almost $90 million for 150 million.
I don't remember who said it. They said that it was going to do great internationally because F1.
It would be because I think
popular.
Yeah, my understanding is F1 racing is much more popular overseas than it is United States.
That's awesome.
Coming up behind it is for second week is How to Train Your Dragon with a 46% drop off. Bring it domestic to 200 million. Elio somehow manages to stay in there, just eking out M3GAN 2.0. 28 years later comes in behind. Lilo and Stitch, just to show you, it is inching its way, just like Minecraft, to $1 billion. I don't know. With the summer movies coming out, I think it's gonna be a crawl if it ever gets to $1 billion. Mission
I don't
Possible.
think it matters anymore because we're getting a Lilo and Stitch too. So.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. I mean, they want money, and somehow they're gonna find that formula one way or the other. So, what are your thoughts about the box office, everyone?
Happy about F1.
Yeah,
F1 was awesome. Joseph Kosinski doesn't miss, and that was one of the reasons why I was super excited. Not really into racing, but it really just has this well, NASCAR, I'm sort of familiar with that, but it really just has this broad audience appeal and perfect for summer. And it wasn't one of those like shut your brain off movies. It was just really it was a simple story, but it was a entertaining quality story.
Yeah, Robbie, you were at CinemaCon as well as myself, and when they came out to introduce F1, it was Jerry Bruckheimer, Joseph Kaczynski, and Bruckheimer mentioned that he made Top Gun Maverick, and that he felt like F1 was going to be this year's Top Gun Maverick. Do you think that's true in terms of the story and also in terms of the box office?
Well, a good question. I mean, first of all, he's the perfect producer to make this movie, and teaming up with Kaczynski again. I don't know if it'll do. Obviously, it doesn't. It's an original film, and it doesn't have the 35 years of love that Top Gun had to before it. But I think, as both Badger and Nerd Cookies pointed out, it's a really well executed, really fun time at the movies. I felt the same way. I saw it in a giant theater with a great sound system, and it. You know what? It understood the assignment. It was totally fun. It was a movie that was very straightforward. It played on very classical tropes, but you had the star power of Brad Pitt. You had the charisma of Damson Idris. Damson,
Yeah,
he was great.
And Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem was so fun, and everybody was fabulous. It takes place. The world of F1 is rich. It's a very it's one of the most expensive sports of all time. It's very expensive to race those cars. The soundtrack, like Badger pointed out, is a banger. And it was just, I mean, there's only one perfect movie, Jaws. Jaws aspires to a lot more on a number of different levels. But F1, for what it was perfectly executed. And I was totally satisfied. Like it was a movie. You sit down, sometimes you sit down to a great burger. You're not having surf and turf with paired wines and all that. You sit down for a great burger, and a great burger is satisfying. That's what this movie was.
Yeah, it's like a Wagyu burger, though, cooked on like a 200-year-old grill that's really nice and seasoned by an expert that knew exactly when to flip it. Every character. And I realized how much I hate characters in movies. Sorry, and I'm just like going because they're telling me to like them. I liked every single character in this movie, and they were all, even the people they're supposed to be bad.
Yeah, you know who I really like was Damson Idris's mom, that actress who played his mom. I loved her, and she was great because she could have just been the bitchy, mother that's going to protect her young, but she wasn't. She had a wisdom to her, and I love that actress's face, and I love when she smiles, and there was just the movie, and that's again a Kaczynski thing. All the characters that you met, there's kind of a small story about a girl that works in the pit crew that has to redeem herself, and there's all these little things throughout the movie that it all paid off and it all worked.
Even her.
I got to call out Damson. I got to call out Damson Idris as well, because he's the character he's the one who had the character arc. Or at least the biggest one in the movie. He understood that assignment, and he came through as a young actor, which was very incredible to me.
Yeah.
I know it's not the same, but Lanterns. I kept thinking, like, if they can capture any amount of this dynamic for Lanterns of an older veteran who maybe has some regrets, but also has some aspirations to do one great thing before maybe he can't do great things anymore. And then a young buck who has something to prove, but maybe needs to learn from that. Like, it really was applicable to a bunch of different genres. It was just so good.
Yeah. I was surprised. Like, as soon as the movie started, I was like, oh, this is like a 90s movie with like shot with modern stuff. Like this, it felt great. And when I got done, my friend that I went to see the movie with, he was like, yeah, it was a racing movie. I'm like, it was, but I didn't really need more than that. I really liked the movie. I was like, if they just did this would be worth going to see in cinema. Like this is why I used to go to the theater all the time, was just to go experience stuff like this. I didn't feel like I was being preached at. I didn't feel like the movie was like, well, if you're really thinking of the deeper, I was like, it's a great movie with great characters. And I absolutely, I laughed out loud, but in the best way possible. And I won't spoil anything, but at the very end of the film, there's a moment where like, it's kind of the all hope is lost moment, and a thing happens. I go, are they gonna do the like trope here? And they do, and the music and everything sells this moment. And I was like, oh my gosh, dude, I'm so happy they did this like this. It's so good. Brad Pitt absolutely killed it. Watching this reminded me, I'm like, I don't think Brad Pitt gets enough love for being kind of a staple of cinema because he's put out bangers early in his career, mid-career, late career, and he was a perfect guy for this movie. Javier Bardem was amazing. He was
a movie
such
star still.
Yeah, absolutely. And Javier Bardem adds something to this film that I just didn't expect because he's just kind of perfect everywhere that he shows up.
Yeah, he stood out more than in any other movie I've ever seen him in.
I thought he was kind of the heart of it because it was his. I mean, obviously he's the moving agent because he goes and he was sort of like, even when at their lowest moment, and he just says some real fun, deprecating, and it's like, that's the kind of friend you want.
Yeah, that surprised me too. I didn't realize how much Javier Bardem was going to have in the movie from the trailer footage, but their chemistry, his and Brad Pitt's, were one of my favorite parts of the film.
So
great
good.
Synergy for all the cast, but I really like their friendship.
Yeah. To me, there's also several schmaltzy moments, and it's amazing how great actors can turn schmaltzy moments into authentic moments.
Absolutely. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
You know, this was the 4th month in a row that Warner Brothers has a win. You know, they had Minecraft, they had Sinners, they had Final Destination Bloodlines, and while this was an Apple production, Warner Brothers is distributing it. So for 4 months in a row, you know, I think this is again a manifestation. I mean, you know, I always feel that when I talk about studio heads, but Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi, they were on the ropes before Minecraft came out. People thought they were going to leave the business, that they were going to be drummed out because of a number of high-profile box office failures, and their desire to bet on filmmakers is really starting to pay off. I mean, people forget that Minecraft was directed by the director of
Napoleon Dynamite.
Napoleon Dynamite directed Minecraft. I mean, that was a reach. Then Ryan Coogler betting on Sinners. I mean, one of the #1 grossing original it's not IP yet, but an original film made. And then of course bringing back a moribund Final Destination franchise after 14 years. That movie is unbelievable how much money that movie's made. And now you have F1 that opens at #1, and next month they have Weapons coming out, and they've got a little Superman movie coming out in a couple weeks too.
And ironically, Superman is the one people are most worried about.
Yeah.
About the entire slate.
Well, what's the other thing I really loved is when I got done with this movie, with this movie, I was like, you know what? If this is all we get from this character, from these characters, awesome. But I could watch another one of these movies.
They're already talking about it, and obviously Tom Cruise has mentioned that he would do a Days of Thunder crossover. And
I love that idea. Cole Trickle meeting.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I was like,
it's a lot though.
Really.
Give the people what they want.
Yeah.
I think the problem is he's Sonny has won so many races. How many are left that he hasn't won?
Yeah. I think
that's the point.
Though.
F1 was the final race that he needed to win in order to be considered great.
But
a rival would be cool.
Yeah. You know what also too, and Jerry Bruckheimer produced both Days of Thunder and F1. So to have
the key thing is having Jerry Bruckheimer, I think.
Yeah, and Kaczynski's already worked with Cruise in Top Gun Maverick, and Brad Pitt. Obviously, there's a love fest happening between these two guys because they've known each other for such a long time. But I do think that's kind of a fun. That idea of taking those two franchises and putting them together it's fun.
Just one last thing based on what Epic Mike actually said when he said, like, yeah, it's a car movie, 90s, but it's with modern. Yes, it's a car movie, but the way the Hans Zimmer soundtrack sounds and the technology they use with the cars and the LCD screens everywhere, I kind of felt like it was a sci-fi, even though it wasn't sci-fi.
No, I totally with you. I'm with you.
Okay. It didn't feel like a Driven or something like that. It felt something else.
Well, it's got this like really frenetic pacing. Like there's so many cuts in this film, and normally if you're not if like bad director or bad editor, you have those cuts to hide things. This movie, it's constantly moving, so you never feel like you're just sitting there watching two cars drive. You're like, oh man, and the angles are changing. And then what I love is that how frenetic it is once again, I won't spoil anything. There's a scene in this film where they completely switch it up, and it's thematically appropriate for them to do what they do, and it makes this beautiful moment. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great, and it's in juxtaposition to all of the craziness. But yeah, the sound in this movie is crazy. It's crunchy, it's hard, it's loud when it needs to be. And I love that about it too. I don't know anything about Formula One racing, and I'm sure this is very Hollywoodized, but I'm okay with it because they made it seem really freaking cool. And that's what I wanted, is to like feel like I was part of something special. And it does. And it feels international, but it feels accessible to any audience that was going to sit down and watch this, which I also love about it. I really, really hope this movie makes a crap ton of money, because we need more movies like this.
It needs to with its budget. So
Yeah.
That soundtrack reminded me of Tron Legacy.
Yes.
That's what I said. It goes part and parcel with it. This movie would not be the same without that soundtrack.
Okay, so clearly we're having this love fest for F1. I wanted to show you another discussion about F1 and get your thoughts on this.
I saw this. I didn't mind that music.
Yeah, I did.
Oh my gosh.
That's hilarious.
She's right.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's so good.
Who's saying that? That
as
the
Johnny
romance is
says,
unnecessary.
The new downfall.
Did you
meme.
feel the romance was forced?
This person that made this, by the way, did in the comments say that was just in all good fun. Like they enjoyed the movie, but like, formulaic means the formula has been done before and it works. Yeah, I like the romance option. I saw it from the beginning that what was going to happen, because
plus they had great tension.
Yeah.
You know, but another thing, you know, one of the things they did in this movie, they bought F2 cars and they rebuilt them and built the cameras into the cars. So they were able to show you racing in a way that, I mean, obviously it was reminiscent of how they shot Top Gun Maverick, but we'd never seen, like they did a thing where they were looking at the car's point of view and the camera would switch 180 degrees and look at the driver. I mean, these are things that we hadn't seen before. And Stephen Maroney, who edited this film, my God, did a phenomenal job. I can't even imagine how much footage they had of these car racing scenes. And they really did go around the world to different F1 races. And, you know, it was definitely something that we don't see very much anymore.
Yeah, even in Vegas. All right. Let's see. We also have an article here about the Marketing Bonanza, the F1 Marketing Bonanza. Let's see. I think you have the notes for that.
Yes. So
hold on. Let me
bring it up.
Get it up here. There we go.
Lovely Robert mentioned a couple of them about the camera rigs and that they went all over the world. So production and authenticity. Filming took place at real F1 circuits, including Silverstone, Las Vegas, Belgium, Abu Dhabi, and Daytona Beach, aiming for high realism, which it came across. Hamilton helped ensure accuracy, stating he wanted the cars to be in the proper gear at every turn. Liam Lawson, F1 driver, commented, "It's a movie at the end of the day. It's the same if you're watching Top Gun, but at the end of the day, I think the movie is incredible." I think they're alluding to what Mike said. That might be a little Hollywood magic, but for the most part, they got the nuts and bolts of it accurate. Marketing and sponsorship, $7.9 million has been spent on TV ads, 80% of it during sports programming, including the Super Bowl pregame trailer. Over a dozen blue chip sponsors are tied in, contributing 40 million plus in brand revenue. Brands include Mercedes-Benz, Heineken, EA Sports, KFC, Geico, Tommy Hilfiger, T-Mobile, and Expensify. Tommy Hilfiger's Met Gala stunt with Idris is a tearaway APX GP racing suit that went viral, leading to a surge in brand visibility, and even Expensify reported a 4-time spike in user signups after the stunt. Fans have even been spotted wearing gear from the film's fictional team, APX GP, with one marketer calling it, saying, one of the most surprising things I've ever seen, and now I need to get an APX t-shirt.
Yeah. I love Tommy Hilfiger and his buddy Johnny First Face. The thing that I kept thinking while watching this movie is, how the hell did they film it? Because you knew that they were chasing around all these races, but there's a lot of footage in here. And I mean, did they really just hire all these cars to actually do a race and then film that? I mean, this is the movie magic that we used to have years ago. The way it was marketed, the way it was presented. We just don't get it. I think that the reason they compare it to Top Gun Maverick is there's just a sense that we don't get these kind of movies anymore. the kind of movies that we watched in the 80s and the 90s. And I think it pays off when you realize if it worked great back in the past, why not replicate it today rather than go down the path we're currently going?
It's just so cool to see so many people involved in this movie that are experts at their craft. All of these artists coming together, so many departments, and the detail and for authenticity it's truly amazing to see something at this scale, and just all of these people come together. That's why I think a lot of people like film specifically, because it's this collaborative art form. It's just really cool to see it on that scale, something like this, of all of these artists and experts coming together to make something so amazing and something truly memorable at the cinema.
Absolutely.
All right. Any final thoughts on F1?
It has a $250 million budget. So it really needs to do well. Thankfully, it's got critical acclaim and word of mouth, but
I can't wait to see it again.
I can't wait to see it for the first time. You guys are selling me on this
We'll
movie.
see
It sounds incredible. I feel so
tried to
left
see it again
out.
and
Like,
it was
I want to
sold
be
out.
up in the hype with you guys. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and this is definitely a movie you want to see on a premium screen, whether it's IMAX, Dolby, or 4DX.
I went and saw it in a nice theater, but it wasn't IMAX. When I got done, I was like, I am so bummed that I didn't see this in IMAX first. Like, I definitely would go back and watch this film again on IMAX just because of the experience. So,
all right. Well, let's get to super chats. Badger, if you will.
John Man 025, member for 35 months. Shout out to today's Elite Versus panel. What up, Badger and R&B? Hi, John.
How's it going?
Okay, sorry, I'm doing everything Chris does as well as what I do.
Dave Chappera for 100. In a world full of Pedro Pascals, be a hot and manly Brad Pitt. P.S. I should have brought a bucket to the movie theater to collect my drool. Awesome movie. Yeah, Brad has inspired me. I'm gonna start doing planks, sideways planks. It's very impressive. Axel's vote for 2. F1 was good. Would love a film within World Rally.
Okay, and lastly,
Jeff Romadix for 10. Saw 28 weeks later this weekend. I thought it was okay, but a movie I would have rather seen is one following the shipwrecked soldiers and having them survive through the virus-infected UK.
Yeah, they don't. Okay, so let's transition to our next topic, the topic of the weekend. Ironheart. Yeah, everybody loves Ironheart. It's at 85% on the Rotten Tomato meter. Interestingly enough, it's 85%, but you need it's not certified fresh. And then the average audience is down to 56%. Sorry, do we have it? Yeah. Taking a look at some of the reviews here. Here we go. This is me fumbling around Rotten Tomatoes because they changed everything and I can't find the reviews. All right. So, yeah, let's get some thoughts on Ironheart and then we'll get into a couple articles about it.
It's the best thing Marvel has ever done.
I haven't seen it. Am I missing out?
So good for the Black people.
Yeah, you need to subscribe to Disney Plus.
You need it like you need another hole in the head. Yeah, you know, if
I had a black daughter, I'd want her to watch this.
Yeah,
I really would.
Riri Williams is truly like someone to look up to. Absolutely,
yep. Absolute icon.
Honey, if you want to live your life the best way possible, you should watch this and learn how to steal things and play the victim constantly and
be complicit in Moida.
Be complicit in multiple homicides and all kinds of good stuff. You know, this is exactly what I want my child to
probably deal with the devil. Probably deal with the devil.
Just a little bit.
Maybe
just
read
a touch,
things.
Just a tad. Yeah.
A little Faustian.
You know, here's the thing. I wish I could complain about. Oh, it just looks lazy. It looks cheaply shot. They're barely putting any effort into this. And instead, I was more blown away at how morally reprehensible the main character was in a way that doesn't feel accidental anymore. It feels like somebody intentionally was like, yo, we got to make this character the worst possible human being that we've ever put into a Marvel film. And the amount of interference and like sweeping. I see people running for her to say, well, there's other flawed characters. Maybe you just don't like flawed characters. Characters don't need to be perfect. You know, it's called a character arc for a reason. And I'm like, you know what? Tony was a warmonger, but you know, he also realized the consequences of his actions, and it happened very quickly. Because the thing is, nobody wants to spend 3 episodes watching Iron Man sell weapons to people and watch people die in front of him and be morally reprehensible. And start to hate the character, and then they go, wait, we promise you won't hate the character by the end. Okay, it's okay, it'll probably get better. No, there's really nothing about Riri that I like. I don't enjoy any of her, and the characters that I started enjoying in this, I don't think I was intended to like, you know. So that's kind of my opening on it. It's pretty bad.
Why do so many think that that's a character arc, to make your main character utterly dislikable, and then the character arc is to make her somewhat likable?
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to hate her
writing.
first?
Because
It's clever writing in their eyes. But Tony, even he was a warmonger, but at least he wasn't like a dislikable character. You know, he still
was
had
naive.
charisma, and he was, as a person, you know, he was funny, things like that. She is just complaining like all the time. You meet her and she is just dislikable. It's not that she's making all of these terrible decisions. It's that they're telling you like she's a genius and all this stuff, and you know, she's a good person. No, she's not. Like, she is a dislikable character. There's nothing that you can latch onto, absolutely nothing to this character. Everything about her is annoying. Like, you just don't like this character. With Tony, yeah, he was making some bad decisions, being a warmonger or whatever, but he was still like a likable character, you know, who was just doing some bad things.
I also don't like that term warmonger, because Tony, as shown, he was making weapons, good weapons, but he thought he was selling them to the government and only the government. And the moment it was shown to him that other forces had it, what did he do? He put on a goddamn Iron Man suit and he went and destroyed those. So like,
and he destroyed all of them.
Perhaps is naive, thinking that wasn't going to get into the hands of other people, but he didn't willfully, as opposed to Riri, who instead of just selling a line of code to any sort of like tech company, I guess she says that would make her small, she decides to join a gang and do hood rat shit. Steal.
Well, also the other thing, like, and I was talking about this recently with somebody else. There's this weird attitude lately with like a lot of modern writers where they'll write a character that is flawed because they have like fundamental character flaws, but they write them in a way that tries to justify it based on their like their identity politics. So a poor black woman, you know, sure, she has to steal stuff, and sure, you know, she does morally reprehensible things to make money, but it's because the world around her doesn't want her to do well or be big. But the problem here is they very, very quickly, almost in the very, like, one of the very first times that she gets called to the carpet for her behavior, another black woman says that's all BS. Nobody's trying to make you small here. In fact, we bent over backwards to give you this opportunity so that you can succeed and get better and be something and make something of yourself. Not to mention the fact that, for people that don't know this, she already has graduated college. They tell you that later in the show. She's graduated college already. She graduated high school early. So she has everything going for her. She could have got a job right out of college at 15 if she wanted, but instead they accepted her to this program with MIT using Tony Stark's money to help her be able to build things that she wants and invent something that'll change the world. And all she does is complain about how she doesn't have the things she wants to be better than Tony Stark.
Dante loves this show.
Right.
It's interesting because it's the difference between situational flaws versus character flaws.
Yes.
That she's not flawed in herself. She's flawed because of the situations she's been placed in or she grew up in. And it makes me wonder what has happened to modern storytelling. And I've heard people talk about it recently on the internet, but, you know, we talk a lot about the hero's journey, and the response has now been, well, the hero's journey is old hack. You know, now we're telling new stories. And, you know, is the hero's journey old hack? Is the hero's journey something that, you know, is a good idea, but we don't need to follow? Or is this the better way of telling stories nowadays?
I think most modern writers couldn't even tell you what the hero's journey actually is or how it applies to these.
No,
and I had somebody try to get in my face about this show and say, well, it's called the hero's journey. I said, please show me where the hero's journey applies to Riri. Like, at all. because
this
it
is a
doesn't.
villain journey like that.
No,
That's what we're following. We're following the makings of a villain. And even the way that Dominique, that's her name? Is that her name?
Yes.
Even the way she acts in this movie, certain faces that she makes, and her attitude, it literally is like the makings of a villain. So I don't understand how people can watch this and be like, oh, it's just a hero's journey. No, it's not. Like when you watch the show and you look at even the way she acts, like it is a villain's journey. It's the making of a villain. Like it's crazy how
she's
people
not
say
trying
like,
to be a
oh,
hero.
she's just flawed. She's going to be a hero soon. It's like, I don't know. Because so
well, let's
far
just say we've
villain.
only seen 3 episodes so far. We don't know what's going to happen in those.
Yes,
last
we
3
do.
But her stated goal is never to be a hero. It's never to put on a suit and go save people or do right. It's just to be iconic, whatever the hell that means.
Well, there's a level of
notoriety
narcissism
and money and just be better and to demand the respect. If she builds this better than Tony Stark, she's going to be it's going to be profitable for her. She's going to get notoriety for it, and people have no choice but to respect her. It's so funny because everybody asks her like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And at first, when she's speaking to the school counselor, whoever that lady is that works for the school, her initial reason, it's a good reason, right? She wants, she's had some trauma in her past. So she wants to make these suits and, have them be like for first responders so they never show up late. That's a good reason. But then later on, it's a completely different reason. This is the real reason. That was just the reason that she was giving MIT so she can continue to stay there and, use their resources in order to make her suit so she wouldn't have to pay for them. The real reason is so, people have no choice but to respect her so she can be iconic, so she can be better than Tony Stark. Those are her real reasons. The reason that she was giving MIT don't seem like the real reason because that's the only time that it's ever mentioned.
Yeah. Dante, what do you think?
Well, see, we're talking about my favorite gal, right? So, look, man, what's funny? More so than the show itself, I'm laughing at the responses from all this, right? Because since I put out my video, my review of the show, I've been called a coon, I've been called a house Negro, I've been called an Uncle Tom, I've been called everything that a black person can call another black person. And then what's funny is I'll ask them a question. I'll say, well, you tell me, what is the show about? They can't even answer it. And I'm like, that is my point. That is my point. So go ahead and continue to call me all the weird slurs you want to call me. But at the end of the day, even y'all know this is some bullshit.
Yeah. Mike had the best one where really some guy called him white.
This is supposed to be like representative of a smart black woman. Like this is a bad representation of that.
Oh, it's fucking awful. And the worst part about it for me is this. Again, you're painting this picture of the smartest, not just the smartest black person, the smartest person in the world, right? Who happens to be a black woman, and her only option, not options, is to be a thief, right? That's her only option. The smartest black woman in the world, right? Could do anything, could make anything. Her only option is theft.
Well, she also admits that she could build anything, but why would she do that? She could go work anywhere too. And she goes, why would I do any of that? Because like, that's not iconic enough. And then when pressed, well, why don't you go work at one of these companies? She goes, what I probably should do is just go get a job at one of these companies that has a big enough lab that I can just steal stuff to build my suit with.
Yeah.
Like none of it. She could, if Tony Stark quit Stark Industries and said, I'm starting my own company, and I need investors because I'm going to go build another Iron Man suit, everybody would be pouring money at him. If all she said was, hey, I'm going to build another Iron Man suit that's going to innovate and change the world, she would have investors knocking down her door.
And she already has the prototype.
And she has the prototype. And she
where was the Stark Foundation? Remember, there was a Stark Foundation, and Pepper Potts was running it, so that
that's where the money for the MIT
that's where the money came from for MIT.
No, but apparently it went to her. That's why she was allowed to steal the suit because it was her grant money.
It's crazy
because that's how grants work.
Yeah, and then the thing is, like, we were talking earlier about like the hero's journey and stuff. You actually have to understand like what these tropes and these themes and things like the hero's journey and stuff are before you can subvert them. So writing a story that's trying to subvert that or be unique, well, you actually have to understand fundamental storytelling to be able to even do that. And a lot of writers, and we've seen it happen everywhere, try to subvert expectations, try to subvert tropes and ideas and stuff, but don't even have an understanding of why they worked in the first place. And as we just talked about with like Formula One, you don't have to reinvent the wheel to make a good movie. Formula One does nothing to break expectations or shatter anything. I wasn't mind blown. It was just a really entertaining film, and it was done well. And I knew at times what to expect. And it is always refreshing when you watch something and you don't know what to expect, or you think something's going to happen one way and it happens different. That's always really cool. But if that's the whole cusp of storytelling, it comes across as pretentious, and it comes across as very like uninterested. I'm actually telling a good story, and nothing here tells me that they wanted to tell a good story. Like,
it makes no sense to I guess you ranted about it because I ranted about it, that like the whole point of the arc reactor is that the suit needs such an immense power that Tony had to like miniaturize it. Like, it can't just run on wind and sunshine.
Yeah. Well, my point was that, like, because she's complaining about, if I had $1 billion, I could be like Tony Stark. And I said, and I shared the clip of Obadiah saying Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps. And everybody that got mad at me about that complained about the fact that she built the suit. The suit was not the point. The arc reactor in a cave with a box of scraps was the point. Tony was able to miniaturize technology that they didn't even think they could create in the size that it was built in a cave, because desperation required innovation. And the interesting thing about this show, what I would have loved to see, is Riri be somebody who watched Tony Stark build something that then activated in her superpower of knowledge. Because remember, people like Tony is a superhero, and it's not because of his suit, it's because of his intelligence. It's a curse, it's a problem. That's why he invents so many suits all the time. He can't stop innovating. And I would have loved to have seen Riri in the same situation. This young girl going, I can't stop making things and I can't stop building, and it's getting ahead of me and it's causing problems. Because later in the show, she runs into another person who has the same gift as her, comes to her and says, ever since meeting you, I can't stop coming up with designs and blueprints and ideas and stuff. She goes, yeah, that's great, cool, I need to steal more of your stuff, please. and I would have loved to have seen something where we have a show that's watching this young girl who dealt with trauma and problems but can't get away from her own gifting, that her gift feels like a curse because she's like Tony. He can't sleep at night because he is constantly thinking of, how can I build the next thing, how can I make people safer, how can I help myself, and also I can't stop constantly thinking. He built a time machine in his off time just as an idea because he knew he couldn't stop it once he thought about it. Once he started thinking about it, all he could do was think about how to invent it, even if he didn't really want it to be invented. And I kind of love that idea. And instead of doing that, they just give her excuses for why she can't be as iconic as Tony Stark is, and that makes her reprehensible. So and the problem also, she wouldn't even do that, right? And she has the proper motivation to do all of those things that you just said, because she had that trauma in the past. So all of that motivation is there, but she doesn't even look up to Tony Stark. He's not even one of her heroes. It was her stepdad's hero, because they asked her, did you like Tony Stark? He's like, nah, that was my stepdad. Like, she doesn't, the only thing that she envies, and she envies of this from Tony Stark, is his money. That's it. That she envies Tony Stark for his money. That's the only thing. And she also hates him at the same time because he had so much money and she doesn't. And why doesn't she have any of that money? Riri Williams just looks for shortcuts everywhere. That's why she's basically a villain. That's why she commits all of this crime. She doesn't want to have to work like Tony did. There's nothing there. She just takes all of these shortcuts so she can just make money in the shortest amount of time. There's no like work to be had there. She's looking for shortcuts everywhere so she can do it quickly and get to that money that Tony Stark has as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I need to remind everybody that we're talking about the first 3 episodes. We don't know how this series ends, and
we have no idea.
And at Film Threat, we don't spoil anything, so we don't know exactly where Riri's journey is going to go, whether she's a villain or a hero.
Although, if you want spoilers, you can watch my review of it, because I don't give a fuck.
Look at your X channel, awful, man. Because certain Dante posted that in 6 episodes she saves no one. But
not
basically, Lucifer at least saves someone. Yeah,
I don't know about that.
She's a villain, that's why.
So she's not a hero.
So here's the thing: you guys are clearly wrong because Badger, if you could pull up that article as I figure out how to
really quick.
Real quick.
Can we talk about the fact that does anybody even let's just take Riri out of it for a minute. Does anybody even buy that this crew is effective or nearly as good as they're supposed to be in this show?
No,
right?
not at all.
No.
No.
Like, does anyone buy that this is a criminal mastermind crew here? Like, I'm
No.
sorry, but you know, you have these two little lesbians who are like, you know, beating down full-grown men once again. You have the trans hacker who the only time they showed him or her or whatever he's supposed to be
With the
is
giant.
flapping his nails,
You have 4 seconds.
doing nothing.
They
Like-
look like Antifa members, and they're about
Right.
as
I mean, does
threatening.
anyone
Like,
buy
yes.
this as a
Well,
high-tech
you know, it's funny though,
crew?
but it feels like that white males need superpowers in order to overcome, to win a battle, while everyone else doesn't.
They
And that's
kill
exactly
off
what
the
they do.
one masculine character in that crew.
Yeah, they killed him off
Yeah.
right away.
And it's Eric Andre. Like, what are you doing with your? Yeah.
Oh no, so two.
The other guy,
because-
I know you're talking about, right? On the team with the knives, that was the
Yeah.
Hood's homie.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah, I forgot about
Jerry?
him
Okay.
too. Yeah.
Something with the J, yeah.
I love, by the way, how Eric Andre walked on set, did one scene, and said, "I'm out of here," and never came back to the show.
Nope.
Okay, so from Collider here, all to say y'all wrong. This is the greatest series. Badger, if you could read the.
You guys tried, but it didn't work. Ironheart, the latest MCU series, initially faced an onslaught of negative reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, resulting in a low audience score before its premiere. However, after the release of the first 3 episodes, the score improved to a modest 60%, with critic score of 71. That's obviously still in flux. Despite the rocky start, Ironheart claimed the #1 spot on Disney Plus's US
Can you
streaming
repeat
charts.
that, please?
Despite the rocky start, Ironheart claimed the #1 spot
#1 spot, people,
on Disney Plus's
On
US
Disney
streaming
Plus.
charts.
Look,
Well, yeah, there's nothing new on Disney Plus.
Oh,
That's the only
Talking
reason.
about Steph,
No,
let me
no,
tell you what outperformed here. Snow White, take that, Zegler.
yeah.
Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Sandlot, and Black Panda, Wakanda Forever.
Oh no, you're forgetting Captain America: Brave New World.
I don't even see that listed, which means it's not even in the top watched.
Wow.
Okay, people.
Yikes.
I mean, you got to admit you're wrong when you're wrong.
Yeah.
#1 on Disney Plus.
By the way, they have 1 million more subs now. So I'm sorry, GraphWeb, you need to be more, you need to double it up. They have 1 million more, but this was still watched by less people. So even more, it might have been #1, but when you compare it to, I think, like Daredevil and some of the other ones.
Yikes.
You know, at some point, you know, we got to stop comparing shit to shit. I mean, it's right. I mean,
Yeah.
at some point, we do have to stop this, right? Like, we can't look at one pile of shit and say, hey, well, this pile of shit smells way worse than this pile of shit. Like we have to just stop this, right?
Well, it's more a history of that, like their last couple shows have not charted. And by the time they do, it's like 10th, and it's because of the accumulated minutes watched. It's just, yeah, people are over it.
Okay.
It's
So
one of
we
those things. Like, I wanted to try to go into this. Like, I was already subjectively not going to like this show, but like, but I wanted to try to like look and see, is there something of value here? And there is. In all of the B plots, there's something interesting going on. Like the fact that she has an AI companion that is created from her dead best friend, of what she remembers from her dead best friend, not who she actually is. And then the fact that you have like this trauma of her family, or, you know, her family dying in something that she maybe could have prevented if she had had a suit. Interesting. She meets this guy who's literally the son of Warmonger, who like mysteriously died, and everybody believes died tragically. So he kind of died like with a good reputation. He goes, nah, it's not who my dad is, and in fact I'm kind of doing what he did, and I don't know why I can't keep doing what he did, you know. Like, there's some really interesting things going on in the background of this, and they chose the A plot to be about this group of like awful people who literally do a roundtable discussion in episode 3 where they go, yeah, what are you going to do with all that money? I'm going to open a Michelin star restaurant, which is not how Michelin star restaurants work. I'm going to start a school for young girls that is actually a front for my money laundering, for my black market explosives. Oh, what are you two going to do? Oh, we're going to start an underground fight club, which is what we were doing before we got this job. Like, none of what they have available. And then Riri's whole thing, I'm going to put it all into my suit. Like, no motivation other than I just want to do more illegal stuff and continue on being a reprehensible, terrible person. And they had a moment there where you could have been like, oh, they actually have motivations and they have excitement and they just got wrapped up in the thrill of crime or the enjoyment of all of it. None of that is a thing. We also don't even know what their leader's motivation is. Like, the show constantly reinforces to you that these are not good people. And the only reason you are supposed to like them is because they check a particular box. And
the way you
is
said
awful.
that, get caught up in the thrill of crime. I'm going to tell my lawyer to just say I got caught up in the thrill of crime.
just
All
say
right,
you were
it's
really
real fun.
excited
That's a
about
good
being-
story idea.
But Mike, remember, this was done like 2-3 years ago, right? So think at the height of like, oh, DEI the cast, the shit out of the cast, and then focus on them instead of all the actual good story that you could tell.
What's weird about this too, and this is going to be the crazy part, when have they ever actually talked about identity politics in this show at all? They don't. They don't talk about how they were ostracized for being gay or being trans or being a drag queen or any of that stuff. They're just characters in the show all doing things. And yes, they are checking boxes, but the one thing that they don't do is constantly preach about their identity politics, which is a lot of guilt. A lot of other shows are more guilty of that. So it's like, you could have even had interesting moments. Like, I told somebody, it could have been funny in the moment where the drag queen has 5 seconds to hack something and their nails are in the way. Instead of having them do this literally on the keyboard, which you could have hit if you just moved the camera up 2 inches. Have him be like, oh fuck, and then pop his nails off so he can type faster. That could have been really funny, a funny moment. Like, you're acknowledging the fact that their fabulous lifestyle gets in the way of them being an effective hacker. There's interesting concepts here. You could have had the twin one of the trans female twins get beat up by a security guard, and the other one had to step in because they both work together to be effective. None of that stuff happens. Not to mention the fact that all of the people that they beat up and the action sequences that they sell and talk about how cool they are beating up blue-collar security workers who are just trying to do their jobs. Like, they break into it all. And the security guards are terrified. Like, oh my God, what do I do? Pull out a nightstick and they just like slow-mo, like knock the guy's teeth out and uppercut him and like break his neck and put him in the hospital for like the next like 6 months. And they're like, yeah, look at what we did. And the cinematography is like, isn't that cool, guys? Like, not really. Like,
You know,
go ahead.
Listening to you say this, there's something to go back to the hero's journey. The hero's journey is an aspirational idea.
Yeah.
And I think that we are now living in a time, especially with a lot of younger modern writers, they don't believe in the hero's journey. Just like they don't believe in America. They don't believe in Western values. They don't believe, I mean, we're seeing sort of the subjugation of, we saw a Democratic candidate win in New York, who's basically running on as a Democratic unapologetic socialist. And if you don't believe in an aspirational life, meaning that leading a good life is reward unto itself, like if we had a civilization of people that, the Frodo Bagginses that they're gonna go to Mount Doom, and they have friends that'll, if Frodo can't make it up the hill to the Crack of Doom, he knows Samwise Gamgee will carry him.
Yeah.
No one believes in that anymore. Yeah. I'm going to get what I can, when I can, how I can. We don't need to be good people. We don't need to live in a good civilization anymore. Let's burn it all down. And the superhero genre, unfortunately, rightly or wrongly, has certain tropes that are built into it. Now, you can subvert them and do a show like The Boys, which is great. But the funny thing about The Boys is, as dark and as just sardonic as it is, ultimately it's hoping that we, the viewers, don't want to live in that society. It's flipping the things that the hero tropes. I mean, the Homelander's the great antithesis of Superman, but we still hopefully believe in Superman. We're now living in a society where Homelander is more appealing to people than Superman as a character. I mean, look at the people arguing that a nice, sweet, Silver Age Superman, a Superman they haven't even seen yet, is something they don't want to watch, but they'd much rather watch Homelander and The Boys.
What the hey, Rob?
Well, I mean, it's a very interesting thing. And when people believe, I mean, we have a whole faction of people believe that Western civilization's terrible, that America is the most oppressive country in the world, where no matter what your identity is, you're effed if you live here. And they're embracing ideologies all over the world that they'll accept one part of it and think they're being heroes without understanding that the foundational aspects of that civilization don't want them. They're useful idiots, and we're seeing that reflected in a lot of fantasy, whether it's science fiction, fantasy, horror writing that is traditionally the place where you go to look for aspiration, where you go to look for heroes that will triumph over much adversity. And it's really weird to watch, and especially the Riri Williams character is, if anything, an anti-hero. And let's tear it all down. Let me get what I want. Let me use this. I don't want to build a suit of armor around the world. I want to use this technology to, win.
Yeah, but you're getting into fourth turning stuff now, where people are starting to want clear-cut lines of good and evil and heroes, and that's why Chosen and other things like that are making all the money. And that's why, if done right, Superman, who is is nice and bubbly and Silver Age in a world that doesn't value that anymore, it might be just the right time of I'm tired of all the just give me good versus evil, because clearly there's stark examples of it
or
these
give
days.
me something that is true to itself.
Yes.
And you look at what's interesting about, say, like characters like
verisimilitude.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the trans people that I've known in my life personally, they want to pass. The whole point is that they truly believe that real gender dysmorphia is, I believe I'm in the wrong body. They're not interested in necessarily being a flamboyant person that's going to, at every moment, try and be an activist.
Yep.
They truly want to live a life that they believe in and that they want to have, and that normalizes the feelings that they have inside. So, they're not going to come on and be some kind of a real character like that that's true and that has verisimilitude, is not flaunting that aspect of their personality as the only thing that they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's weird.
What's interesting about what you're saying is, it's like we have these writers who just have this very depressed, very pessimistic look at society, but at the same time, it's not translating into good writing.
No,
good writing skill whatsoever.
Because that good writing comes from, at the end of the day, the idea of wanting to tell a story, even if it's a dark, bleak tale. Like if you read Cormac McCarthy's The Road, or you watch any of the movies that Stanley Kubrick has made, the darkness we're supposed to, I think the idea of telling that kind of a story is so the audience and the reader says to themselves, I don't want to live in that society. Yes. What can I do personally to make sure that I don't have to walk the road?
And they have a bunch of life experience that they can then apply to that, make everyone nuanced and show,
And like the thing is, like with like The Boys, even for an example, like, the writer of The Boys constantly is reinforcing that people aren't supposed to like Homelander because he's a villain. And I'm like, you shouldn't have to tell your audience to not like your villain. Homelander is reprehensible for sure, and we know that he's a flawed character. But you know what? Like the other characters in the show are just as bad, but they're all self-righteous about it.
Yeah.
And so they'll watch their friend have something horrible happen to them, like what happened to Huey in the last season, and then turn around and yell at him for not being a supportive partner while he's crying on the floor about being traumatized. And you go, I don't like this person. Like,
doesn't mean,
yeah. And I'm like, the more flawed Homelander becomes as a character, and the more pathetic he is as a character, well, guess what? He's still the most powerful being in the world. And that's interesting. It's an interesting dichotomy that's happening there, that you go like, man, what is that guy feeling inside? The other characters, however, you don't feel bad for because they're not good people either. And the only justification they had, at least in the first season, it was, we're bad people, but we're doing bad things to stop even worse people so that people can live in a better world, because these heroes run around doing whatever they want. What is their motivation now? I really don't like Homelander anymore. So we want to stop him from doing that, because they long ago gave up the mission of, we do the bad stuff that nobody else wants to do so that the world can be a better place and full of less corrupt superheroes. That's not even their journey anymore, And so I just think it's interesting when people can't see that that's what's happening, and they wonder, why do people like the villain so much in this, or why do they relate to this character? I'm like, because they actually have an interesting character dichotomy, or they actually have interesting themes going on with them. And you can make heroes that have the same thing. A lot of people say Superman is boring because he's too powerful. And I said this the other day on Twitter. If you think Superman's biggest problem is that he's too powerful, you do not understand Superman, because he has a lot going on. And the interesting thing about him is the fact that he has problems and internal struggles and issues because the world around him is basically made of paper. And if he sneezes tomorrow, he could kill half of a city without trying. That's interesting. And then for him, the most powerful being on in the not just the world, in the galaxy, maybe in the universe, to fall in love with a human woman. Not a perfect human woman, not a supermodel, not the female president, just a reporter that captured his heart. Fascinating stuff. And they can't see that because they're like, well, we have to make or Superman less powerful because then he can have conflict, you know? I don't know.
But also, there's nothing wrong with appreciating a good villain either. I mean, look, we can acknowledge somebody's bad and appreciate that they're a good villain, because you know what a good villain does? They add to the story, right?
I love Freddy Krueger.
The hero means nothing without the villain, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we look at somebody like Darth Vader. We all could, and we love Darth Vader because he's a perfect villain. He's a perfect villain, or he used to be anyway. We can admire that part of him and still realize, hey, this is a bad guy who does bad things, right? And it's the same thing with Homelander. The way the boy started out, yes, Homelander is evil. He's scary. He's all the things, right? We can admire that part of him without connecting with him. You get what I'm saying? Like we don't have to justify what he's doing because he's the villain. But our heroes do need justifications for the things that they do because they're the heroes. They can't just do wild shit. Did I freeze?
No, you're good.
Okay, good.
No, we're all enraptured by what you have to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
But no,
we're just listening.
The hero can't do wild shit and then be excused for it just because, right? The villain almost can though, because they are the villain. Your villains
get to have fun.
There to stop them.
Yeah, they get to go and do all that batshit. We can Simon Phoenix, like in Demolition Man, Wesley Snipes. I love that. He's a villain. He's horrible. I'm not condoning any of his, well, maybe some of his actions, but he's fun. It's just fun. The villains get to have all the fun.
Well, that's why the current run of John Cena is the best run of John Cena.
Oh no!
I love bad John Cena. That's all I can say. So speaking of which, we talked a little bit about it. Let me pull this. Actually, let's go to. Sorry, hold on. Let's go to super chats real quick. If we can do it, Badger, if you will.
Dark Sith 87, member for 32 months. The cost of tires alone overshadows the marketing. Yeah, for F1. Gatekeeper, shout out, brother. Member for 12 months. Hail panel, hail chat, and God bless the Epic Angel.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that, man. Means a lot.
DK Bones 1977 became a YouTube member. Shout out DK. Super Indiku for 5. Ironheart's crime crew makes Paul Rudd Ant-Man crew look like Ocean's 11.
He had a great crew. Yeah.
Connor Dorian. Oh, what's up, Dorian? I predict Ryan kills Homelander for 5.
Ryan Kindle.
Yeah. Eternal Glory in Valhalla for 10. Saw the recent Superman dog clip. They are definitely going for the Twitch youth vibe. Ironically, the same gen that is abandoning Western style movies and comics for Japanese cartoons. They need to stop releasing clips. I have seen almost the whole movie, it feels like.
I know. It feels like, 70% of the movie has been in the clips. And
Jurassic World's doing that too.
Another one.
Yeah. I can't wait to see in Superman what I didn't see in the trailers.
By the way, apropos of nothing, I watched a Japanese animated series that I sort of stumbled across. It's 8 episodes on Netflix. It's one of the greatest science fiction things I've seen in years. It's called Pluto.
Pluto.
If you haven't, I cannot recommend it highly enough.
I watched the first episode based on your recommendation. It is awesome. My
mind was blown.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And it speaks so much to the modern age where we're at by the time you get to the end. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And I watched Solo Leveling.
You're the only one who's.
Once I get
it does not disappoint. I promise.
Once I get to K-pop Demon Hunter, I'll take a look at it.
It's a very different show than that. What's that?
Pluto.
Which show?
Pluto. It's
Okay.
8 episodes, and each episode's a full-on hour, and there's more interesting things going on in every episode. That
It's so
first
good.
episode will leave you a little bit in tears too.
Yeah, it hooked me definitely from
awesome.
the very start.
Okay, we've been teasing this a bit, but we're going to get into the formal conversation. But let's take a look.
Oh no.
Tech is the future. Riri, you can actually help people.
I know.
But she doesn't want to.
So, where's your arc reactor? That's like the...
You know, they don't exactly hand those out.
Y'all calling me crazy when I've been balling all day like Brady.
When I got back from Wakanda, I felt stuck. To bring my ideas to life, I need cash.
Crazy, gotta go crazy.
Come work for me.
I assume these jobs aren't exactly legal.
Not exactly. So you in or out?
We Ocean's 11 or The Sopranos.
What's the difference?
What would you say if someone were to create AI using brain scanning technology? Oh my God, I'm literally perfection.
I would say only an idiot with a death wish would try that.
Cool.
Riri, you created something great. We're gonna need it.
No.
Now, you are just in my way.
It's Hood. It's from another dimension. If I'm gonna protect us, I need to start thinking outside the box. I think I have to fight magic with magic.
Wait, what?
Might be a hero in there after all.
Did it say it deserves our attention?
Tech is the future.
It did say
It
that.
deserves our
She-
attention.
Deserves.
Literally says they're not handing out arc reactors. Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave
She could build a
with
suit,
a
but she
box
can't
of
build an arc.
scraps.
Here's the
Like-
question I have. They brought it up in the clip here, but you know, are we The Sopranos? Or are we Ocean's 11? And I get the
What's
feeling
the
that
difference?
neither character cared what the answer was, and that makes me believe that, you know, is she a villain or is she a hero? I think the problem is the show skates that line when it really needed to choose a direction. And the question I have for you is, wouldn't the series been a whole lot better if they made her the villain and if they just leaned into the villain aspect of it?
I actually said that to somebody the other day. I would love for this series to end with her full on villain, and the villain that's showing up that I'm not going to spoil, even though it's already been spoiled all over the internet. Straight up, Dark Avengers. She becomes the leader of the Dark Avengers. She mirrors Tony Stark, except she's the opposite. She's like, oh, you know, I was handed everything, but never innovated on that. But now I've been given everything that I've ever wanted and didn't have to earn any of it. That's a great villain arc. I'd watch that.
Mm-hmm.
I would watch the shit out of a Dark Avengers full of a bunch of entitled people who mirror the characters in their world that they were supposed to be inspired by. I would love that. And instead they're like, no, she's a good person. She's a hero.
I find
that
it
what
interesting
Whiplash
because
was, though?
Disney used to lean in. Disney has been leaning into that a lot, in the sense that you know, a lot of the films they've been producing didn't have a villain in it, and then the ones you did get, you know, obviously the Snow White and I think, trying to remember, Wish had a villain in it, but it's just this. You know, where has the villain gone, and why do we not have them anymore?
No, we have them, Alan, but they're all white guys.
Yeah, and didn't like both of
The
those
villain has
villains
to be a white
destroy
guy. It can't be a
themselves?
black girl from the hood.
Yeah, didn't both of those villains, like from Wish and Snow White, they like destroyed themselves or something? Like the hero had nothing to do with their deaths.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, ironically, they had the same fate.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people now, the villains in a lot of stories now are circumstances, and like power structures and power dynamics. You know, like the patriarchy is the villain. Really, the patriarchy was the bad guy the whole time.
Or a white guy, just a white guy.
You know, but he represents an entire system of things. It's like you can have interesting white guy villains too. Marvel had been doing it for years. Obadiah Stane was a white guy, but he was interesting. Like I like.
Yeah, but there are reasons why Obadiah Stane was a villain. Now you just have to be a white dude.
That's
like I mean, because you know what? Again, like you just said, Mike, it's about what it represents, right? Because it doesn't matter what they actually do; it's what they represent now.
Yeah.
So, do you think they were in fear of backlash if they had made Riri a true villain?
Of course, their first black female lead, they make a villain. Come on.
Well, she's not even the first black female lead. We had Letitia Wright in Black Wakanda Forever.
Yeah, but she wasn't the lead, right? Like, I mean,
I would say she was in the absence of Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah,
they also didn't have enough confidence. That's a little bit more debatable than Riri Williams. Riri Williams is the star of this show, or supposed to be. She's the focus of the show, right?
Yeah.
Marvel, I don't want to say Marvel. The MCU has always had a problem with villains. They have. Even in the glory days of the MCU, they've never done villains totally the way they should. But we look past it because everything else is pretty good. We're at the point now where it doesn't even matter, right? I'm gonna tell you guys right now, one of the best villains they've had in recent times is the one you're going to see tomorrow.
Yeah,
that's the best villain that you're going to see from the MCU in a very long time, and they waste him on this show.
I was gonna say, and it's wasted.
No, really, they literally waste the. After seeing what we saw with this villain, I'm like,
villain we thought we were gonna get at the end of WandaVision, but the showrunner said, I don't even know who that is.
Because the actor is so good. You're like, why did they waste him on this?
Look, let's not oversell it. It's because he acts good in the scene he's in. That makes him great because
it makes you more of that guy. He
conveys a lot in that just one small performance.
But that character has been wanted since Doctor Strange. Probably before that, people have been wanting to see this character in Marvel for a long time, and they've had ample opportunity to present him at a time that would have been really interesting and in better things, and they refuse to do that. Also, because they don't actually believe in these characters. And so now it's about saving what's left of the interesting characters they have in Marvel's universe to throw at something like this to say, cool, see, this character's in it. Isn't this what you guys always wanted? Isn't this what you guys have been clamoring for finally? And we gave it to you and you didn't even like the show. So what are we supposed to do now? Not knowing full well that they don't actually believe in that character or are interested in any of that, because that would require them to have to listen to fans. And they don't want to listen to fans. If they were listening to fans, we wouldn't have Riri Williams right now. There are plenty of other characters out there that could have been interesting. There are plenty of other black characters out there that could have been very interesting that we wanted to see. Why don't we have Blue Marvel yet? Dr. Voodoo, yeah, like, why don't we have these characters? Yeah, none of it. Like,
yeah, and then
completely dropped the ball on all of this. Like,
and then going back to my original point, you can't walk that line between hero and villain, because it happens with Riri, and I think it happens with the Hood as well. It just feels like you need to choose one side or the other, and when you do, you get a dynamic character out of it.
Yep. It was funny because I for a brief moment argued on Twitter about this show with the guy that created Luke Cage, because he was trying to justify the show being good and saying people don't understand black characters. I'm like, you wrote a show that was infinitely better than this, with a very interesting character, Luke Cage, who realized that the power structures that these other black people were using and taking advantage of the poor people in your neighborhood, you had to fight them, and that the police couldn't do anything because those people had guns, and him being a bulletproof black man served as a great vehicle for him to be able to combat these people. And they had to deal with the fallout of that meant other people around him got hurt because other people weren't bulletproof. Fascinating idea. Maybe the end of Luke Cage wasn't super great, but also with season 2, there was a very interesting thing that happened, and I'm still bummed we never got it. Luke decides to become the villain of the story because he realized that, guess what? You know what? All of these other criminals and all of the other guys are going to do wrong, but guess what? They can come at me and I can take it because I'm bulletproof. And I
also,
love
he was a
the
great
idea.
character. It didn't matter that he was black. Like, I liked him for the way things he was saying.
yeah.
That's just how a man should be. Like,
Well,
with
Chris,
that level of
Chris, before
responsibility.
I start, sorry.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely good. Bro, I was fascinated. I wanted a Luke Cage season 3 after that twist at the end of season 2. I was like, this will be great. And Misty going, all right, well, I'm going to have to be the one to stop you. And he goes, I wouldn't have it any other way. I want you to be the one that stops me. Now you set up a strong black female character fighting this other villain and stuff. Fascinating stuff. And instead they're like, what if the black girl had no problems except that she needed money? You know, and people try, like, people have the balls to be like, you just don't understand what it's like. I grew up poor and black. I grew up in like shitty, terrible neighborhoods with gang violence. I know what it's like. And you know what? I didn't grow up going, the only answer to this is money, and I'm going to ignore every opportunity ever given to me.
Same.
You know, like it's wild. Like that is indicative of really what these writers think about disenfranchised people. Well, poor black people just need money, and if they had money, all of their problems would be solved. I'm like, no, the fuck it wouldn't, because you know what? A lot of gangbangers and a lot of drug dealers have a shit ton of money and are still morally reprehensible people.
Yeah.
As proven in Ironheart, because they even said like, oh, I got all this money, but I'm still going to commit more crime.
More crime. And the thing is, like, and I said this, and I wasn't kidding, I have met gangbangers that have more morals than Riri Williams. Because you know what? They take care of their people. And that was their whole motivation, was taking care of their neighborhoods and getting ahead and helping the people out around them that needed help. They aren't helping anybody but themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree with that. And I'll go a step further, Mike, because I remember, you know, when I grew up, you know, we had certain guys, you know, and it wasn't a lot of us back then, but, you know, they would get scholarships to college, right? And I grew up in the hood, and you see those guys, you know, kind of move on and go. And there was always this sense, even from the gangbangers, right, of good, he made it out, right? It was like almost like that feeling of good, he's out of here. You know what I mean? He'll have a chance, right? You don't get any of this kind of stuff watching these shows, man. And that's what pisses me off. They make it seem like being in the hood is a thing that we want to be, and we love being in the hood. And we love everything that goes along with it, right? I mean, we love the gang banging, the drug dealing, the stealing. I did none of that growing up. I knew many black guys like me who did none of that growing up, who grew up in the hood, right? But they never portray that stuff. They only want you to see the bullshit. And the thing that's most insulting for me about this is, not only does she get a scholarship, she gets a scholarship to one of the best schools in the fucking country, with grants giving her money constantly to screw up, right? Because she's constantly screwing up, still getting chance after chance. Girl's what, 18, 19 years old, maybe?
She's 19. 19.
More opportunities than most people I knew growing up in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you tell me she couldn't have gotten a job from all the work she did.
No, she wants to take the easy way.
It's insulting, man. That's the problem.
Yeah.
She could be making a 7-figure job easy and funneling all of that money back into her suit and building something better. But she refuses to do that because she doesn't want to work for anybody. She doesn't want any red tape. She doesn't want to have to earn anything.
Why are you making her small, Mike?
Why are you making me small? I'm like, earning 7 figures is not a small thing. What you're upset about is you don't like that other people have eyes on them. Tony Stark was famous, but you know what? Tony Stark wasn't just famous because he was Iron Man. It's what he did as Iron Man. Because for a while he was infamous. He had a bad reputation because he was doing wrong. He wasn't doing right by the suit. If you watch Iron Man 2 and 3, he's getting called out for his behavior. He felt he was untouchable, all of that stuff. And then in Iron Man 3, he has to get brought low again after saving New York City and all this, to be reminded, it's not about the suit, Tony. It's about you and what you're going to do. Tony makes terrible decisions in Age of Ultron. He makes a call that he shouldn't have made without anybody else's help, and they reprimand him for it and tell you, Tony, you can't just do this by yourself. And she's looking at, well, he had a suit and he had billions of dollars, and that made him iconic, and that was awesome. Ignoring the fact that without him and without his suit and without him putting his life on the line numerous times, we'd all be dead.
They don't mention any of Tony Stark's heroics in Ironheart. Like in the first 3 episodes, the episodes that I've watched, they don't mention any of that. He is relegated to just being a billionaire. That is it. Everything else is script. It does not matter.
she lists off all these people who she's better than, you know, the star.
Bill
Yeah.
Gates,
And the only one, the only person she didn't say she was better than was Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
Because who is?
That's
I know, exactly.
Like when they ask her, when they ask like, why aren't you working for Stark Industries? They even call him like that Tony guy, you know, as if he didn't save everybody in the universe. Like,
multiple
he's
times.
just that Tony guy.
You know,
And then
snap back your
what
friends.
she says is that
friends.
he's contributed immensely to the field. Like that's her
That's why
idea
we'll
of
throw
Tony
shade
Stark.
at him because he
Yeah.
contributed. Yeah. I'm
He's
like,
just
you mean
contributed
immensely?
They don't mention any of his heroics, and they have to do that. They have to do that in this because, you know, how do you break down the character of Tony Stark? How on earth? He literally saved the entire universe. How do you break down that character in order to build this one up? Oh, we just strip everything, all of his heroics. He's just a billionaire in this show. Like that's it. So Tony Stark is just a billionaire. All that matters about Tony Stark is that he has money and Riri has none.
I mean, even if you take the black out of this, right? Let's just take the black out for a minute.
Yep.
Okay, there's this mentality, and I guess it's the Gen Zers or the Gen Alphas. I don't know. I can't keep up with them anymore. The youngins, right? There's this mentality of not having to earn it, right? I think it's kind of common now, where this generation feels like it's not about earning it; it should be given to them, and maybe the show speaks to them. Maybe the show is for them, those who believe that same way, right? So,
are you saying this was the experience of the writers?
Well, yes, right. I mean, but here's the thing. But they are speaking to this generation because this generation does believe in not working. They hate having jobs. Like we've all seen that. They all feel like they're entitled to more, right? They want to have break rooms that are converted into sex rooms. I don't know if you heard about that recently.
That's productivity,
among other things, right? Like they want to.
Well, at least somebody wants to have sex.
Yeah, that's true. they want it to be cush, right? And maybe this show speaks to those kind of people.
And that speaks on what Robert was saying earlier about how the writers don't know how to write a hero's journey because that requires work on the hero's part.
It requires self-reflection.
It requires work, self-reflection, all of these going through all of these hard things. And they don't know how to write that anymore because in their viewpoint, they should just be given everything. You know, they should just demand everything and they be given it. There's no work going into anything. And that's literally how Riri Williams thinks. If I'm able to do this by finessing things away from people, she's good. She's a thief, right? She's a thief. She's going to just take what she needs and give nothing back. Then she will be able to be greater than all of those people. Tony Stark, Gates, Pym, all of those people. She'll be able to be greater than all of them without actually doing the work that they put into in order to be at that high status without putting any work. She's just going to take everything and give nothing back.
Musk was literally in the second Iron Man. Why didn't they list him?
Here's the thing. The goal of the Hood, he would go into these mansions of rich people, confront them, and then make them sign contracts. And then I get it. There's a theme there that extends to the end of the show, but the idea that he's going to get what he wants if only he can get the millionaire to sign the contract to give him half of his wealth. Apparently, there was no superhero or sidekick named the Notary next to him doing that. But that's to me, that's it's when you talk about people who don't understand the world and the idea that you can. The signing contracts under duress is somewhat illegal, and they can actually avoid your contract. And my point in all this is we have writers who just don't understand how the world works, and they just build the world around it.
He was like, make our crew a part of staff with benefits and everything. I'm thinking, what? With benefits? What are you talking? Like, I literally just thought that they were going to steal. Not, I want them to be on payroll. We're just going to be an anonymous, investor or whatever. Like, give us half of whatever. You can't do that. You can't have benefits and be anonymous.
Yeah.
No.
Could you imagine how interesting it would have been in that moment where she goes, this contract means absolutely nothing. I'm just going to void it. Like, I could just void this right now. Nobody's going to trust you. And he goes, it doesn't matter. Sign anyways. And now you go, oh, there's something else going on with this.
Yeah.
Oh, what are you doing? Okay, you have other motivation. It would have been even fascinating to find out that, or hint at, that this leader, not just that there's something weird with his hood, but that he's just gathering this group of kids to do his bidding because he has ulterior motives. And he's using them because he's the real villain. And these kids are just wrapped up in the idea of having a lavish lifestyle and having a ton of money and not thinking about the consequences of that. But that's not even what's set up there. Like, because that would require knowing how to write nuance and have subtlety in things instead of blaming Tony Stark for why Riri can't get ahead in life, you know?
Well, another thing too is, how did Riri Williams get all the knowledge that she has? You know, she's written as a genius from the get.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like no one is born a genius. You might be born a prodigy, but you still have to learn.
Black
You know,
girl
to
magic.
learn everything that she knows. I mean, she knows everything from manufacturing, you know, welding, soldering, creating, working with metals, also electronics and AI. What she knows would require, even if you were the smartest person in the world and had a 200 IQ, would require a lot of work.
Yes.
And so but none of that. You have a character now that just is that way.
Right.
Yeah.
And-
You're
and-
forgetting the storytelling axiom known as "because I said so."
Well, yeah, I mean, but the thing is, this is important because somebody who has that kind of knowledge, that you have to have a broad base of knowledge, would know probably more about history or philosophy or something else. It's almost like, okay, we've created this brilliant character, but she only knows these things that allow her to build armor.
Yeah.
But nobody who's intelligent just knows about one thing.
Yeah.
You know, you've got, and where did she learn all this in the first place?
Yeah.
And Rob, and that's the problem with writing someone that young being that brilliant, right? Because
Yes.
with Tony Stark, there's a believability where this guy is in his 40s, like, you know, he's late 30s. I don't know, Marvel time. But either way, he's had time to learn. He's had time to go to the best schools, learn all the things on top of being a genius, right? And his father is a genius.
Right.
So
from the time he was probably a little kid, he was learning all this.
yeah.
And Tony Stark has a well-rounded, I mean, he had that kind of an education. And
Well,
I think
Go ahead.
that's what people want to believe they are these days. They want to believe they're Riri Williams, but yet you ask them to actually do something. That's why AI is going to be so popular with younger filmmakers and all these people, because they don't actually, AI will allow filmmakers to just come up with actually AI will come up with the stories too, but they're going to be so enamored of the fact that they've created an image when they've really not created an image at all. You have all the work that hundreds and hundreds of years of human development will have given generative AI, and now people just have to type a prompt and get back all of that human knowledge wrapped up in whatever you're going to get. And that's the world that we're going to live in. I'm a great prompter. I deserve to be a billionaire.
Yes.
Yeah, when you say they use AI to create an image and they feel good about it, imagine creating a script and feeling good about it.
Oh yeah, and they will.
Yep. And the problem is the reason that mattered, and the thing that mattered about being a storyteller in the past, was to disseminate knowledge that was gained over years to people in a palatable way that they could then take and learn from and change their life and live better. And the whole thing about art and the beauty about it is it builds on itself, you know. And instead what we've got is a slew of people that are going to come down the pipe that go, I know how this technology works, but I have no interest in actually learning why art inspires or what about art inspires people. I just want to make something that people look at and go, oh, that's really cool, wow, that's awesome, and then move on. You know, and I've without getting too into it, like, people used to spend their entire lifetime building something or creating something that they never saw the benefits of, writing stories that hundreds of years later would inspire people and become a classic literature that people talked about and loved. And those people, some of them died penniless. Many artists died penniless with never seeing the fruit of their labor, but it inspired people, and we still talk about those people today. A lot of the writers today and a lot of people, they just want money, not realizing that won't last anything. Once you're dead and gone, that money just sits there.
And what do they want it for? To buy bling?
Yeah.
You know, like what do you become rich? What are you then going to do with your wealth?
Yeah.
Are you just going to sit in the lap of luxury and take trips, buy a lot of baby lotion and make other people live out your fantasies for you in front of you because you have money?
Yeah.
Well, and I think a big part of filmmaking too is the investment part of it, right? Like you need to be invested in these characters. You need to be invested in the story. You know, look, I don't really compare movies and video games, different genres, but you know, I've been playing this game recently called Expedition 33, and
Game of the year.
It is the most incredible fucking game, just from a story standpoint, right? And the reason why I even bring this up is 10 minutes into the game, you're already invested in every single character in the game. It's that damn good. And when I talk about writing, and I'm not going to get into the whole story because you guys just need to play it. But
you can't predict that story. Like
that story is so good. And
yeah,
I'm like, there was a time when Hollywood, you know, would put out something that would get you that, you know, invested quickly into a character. And I try to remember, like, what was the last time like that happened? Like, well, yeah, I mean F1, but I mean like I mean on a regular, consistent basis. And I think about like the early '90s, and I think about like, you know, the early Tarantino stuff, and just how we had drifted so far from just investing people in story and characters, man. And the worst part is I don't see it getting any better. Right?
Yeah.
Like the more with AI, the more with, you know, with the way shit is happening in studios, I don't know if the crop of movies are going to get better than what they are right now. And I don't know if that's depressing or not. I think it might be depressing.
We have Project Hail Mary and The Odyssey and Doom Aside. There's
I believe.
But here's the thing, Nerd Cookies, I don't have faith. Like I saw the trailer for
yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit.
But what I'm saying is, until I see the film, right? Like I just can't look at a trailer and be like, okay, it's going to be a good film anymore. It's
right.
I just have to wait.
Okay, we have one more Ironheart topic, and then we'll get to a trailer.
More
but
Ironheart.
We do,
that's exciting.
Yeah, but before we do, it's super chat time. So Badger, if you will.
Sure. Slim934, member for 16 months. RMB Monster is from the same guy as Pluto. And
yes, that's how I found Pluto.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I've heard Monster's really good too.
It is.
Kiss my grits. 80 for $9.99. 2 more clips, both 2 minutes long, from Superman have been released today. And IMO, this is not a marketing tactic from a studio confident in its movie. They're panicking. They're all in conjunction with press, like them going on Good Morning America and stuff. But yeah, they stop releasing clips.
By the way, men watched Alice. I'm just gonna.
Yes, we did. Loved Alice.
The TV series?
Yes.
Yeah. Who didn't? It was great.
Exactly. Why? It
was a great show.
How far we have come.
Flo, Vera, Alice, Mel.
Yeah.
Llama pajamas for $5. This movie is trash.
I watched Maud.
This movie's trash. Is Meek gonna make the Hangover stream on time? Jay said Mike's been late a bunch, asking because Meek needs to be there. Wow.
How dare you call me out like that? Try to make me be on time. Don't
Being
make
on
me
time
small.
is racist. Yeah.
I know.
I'm gonna use that from now on. Don't make me small.
Yeah, you're trying to make me small.
At 1 a.m. Nav for 40 rubies. Speaking of anime, I highly recommend Freerun.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good. I haven't checked it out either.
Weird name.
Jamin D for 20. As Columbo once said, even with some murderers I meet, I like them too. Sometimes like and respect them. Not for what they did, not that, but for the part of them that's smart, funny, or nice. Because there's niceness in all.
Wow.
Referring to us liking Homelander and other villains.
Cancel Columbo. There we go.
Nelson Chirita for 2. Does Riri do one heroic thing?
No.
She saves her AI friend. Oh, I spoiled it. Sorry.
Metal Slave 199.
So basically, no.
She's just saving herself.
10 Film Threat memberships.
I mean, you have no idea what that whole episode.
Shout out to the 199. Shinotsky for 199. Ironheart is a perfect supervillain origin story.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes.
And probably would have made a better TV series too.
Jose A. Taco, member for 3 months. Project Hail Mary is a great book when in blind. I wish the trailer would have kept the surprises out about Rocky. Thanks for the recommendation, Robert.
Okay, we'll get to that. But before we do, we asked the question, is Ironheart a hero or villain? I have to ask the question, is Ironheart Racist. Recently, someone on the internet, let me throw this up here, posted this commentary, and I want to see how you guys respond to it. Well, Chris, before I start my Alan's Corner, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What was your impression of the Asian character in Ironheart?
69. Which one are you talking?
There wasn't one, motherfucker. All right, so now I've been watching all of you guys talk about Ironheart, you know, on all the shows everywhere, but none of you have brought up the fact that there wasn't a single goddamn Asian in Ironheart. Now I hope the reason is because we were smart enough to not be in the movie. But here's my point. My point is I don't care that there was no Asian in Ironheart. My point is that is the hypocrisy of it. If you are going to create a television series that's based on diversity, equity, and inclusion, well, shouldn't it be diverse and shouldn't it be inclusive rather than exclude an entire race of people? Because not even there were no slanty-eyed Asians and there were no brown Asians in it either.
Wow.
And yeah, I know. So what are your thoughts? I have personal
Alan,
thoughts
come
on
on.
it.
There's no Asians in New York.
I legitimately can't stop laughing. That's the funniest. There wasn't one, motherfucker.
Diversity means less white people, more black people, as they
Basically,
understand it.
yes.
I mean, if you're going on the percentages of how many Asians attend
Are in New York?
Well,
very
no,
small.
and
It's
MIT
small.
because you know she's at the university. It's almost it says Asian. The percentage of Asian students in MIT's incoming freshman class for 2028 rose to 47%. So almost half of the college students at MIT are Asian. And how many were in the shot?
Okay, so to be fair, there is a shot where Riri's in class and they pan to her, and that there is one Asian student in the back.
That's your representation.
Yeah, but
I mean, you want to the honest answer is they're probably all in Shang-Chi because Asians are the ones that do kung fu. Because if we're gonna get another Iron Fist show, it's gonna be an Asian guy or an Asian female.
No, it'll be a white guy because Danny Rand is white.
No, they don't like Danny Rand.
Asian.
They went back to an Asian guy dude now.
Yeah, I even have a problem with that. He's white. Make him white.
Because there was complaints about this back when that show was out. That why are they making a white guy good at kung fu? It's like, well, he's like the only guy that's good at kung fu in that specific thing. Like, no, the idea is Asian people are good at kung fu. And so if we do a kung fu movie, that's what we have to do there. You know, black people are disenfranchised, so they need to steal and get that money. That's all it's all about. You know, like I think you're completely right. But like, I mean, that's the reality. I think it's just stereotype. I think
if it's a Latin person, if it's a Latino, they're going to be fighting nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, here, let me play one more.
Bro, that killed me. I'm dying, dude. That's so funny.
Let me play one more clip here. Whoops. I blew it here.
See.
Okay, here we go. This is from The View. Here, I gotta remove that. Then is that it? No.
I believe in you.
Not so easy.
I got it. I know how to do this. Here we go. Our good friend Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh no.
Here we go.
Know anything about the Marvel universe, you need to watch this show. This young lady is giving representation of women,
except for Asian
young women, women of color.
Except
this
for
is
Asian
for
women.
everybody. Everyone is
Except for Asian.
represented in this woman.
See her be a thief.
Yeah.
She is a bad representation.
I will say this to Dominique Thorne's credit. For the most part, I have not heard her talk about race. I've not heard her get into like the whole, diversity thing. I think she just talks about the show. So with that, I can give her some respect. And like I've said in my review, that between her, Anthony Ramirez and the
Anthony
other guy,
Ramos. Sorry.
Manny, what's his name? There are decent actors in this show that were just given a horrible script.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
And she is beautiful, by the way. Like, she is a gorgeous woman. They
do her so bad in the show.
They completely made her look ugly in this show. She looks
they do
terrible in this show.
Yeah.
They do that to a lot of their female actresses for some reason.
Yeah. Well, because looking good's the male gaze.
Oh, right. They want the male gaze, not the male gaze.
Yeah,
Right.
That's
Yeah.
you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
looking
exactly.
at her on that show, looking at her on that show and how pretty she is. Oh my God, she looks so bad in the show.
Allie,
was-
Asian
it was more Natalie
representation.
than
Remember
anything.
Kelly Marie Tran? Very lovely in real life. Made her look frumpy and ugly in the movies because that's what they do.
Which is a weird, I mean, if you think about it, you know, movies used to be the place where, like, in the films of the 70s that really affected me, like Popeye Doyle, Gene Hackman in The French Connection. Not exactly a marquee. He was not exactly the most handsome man in the world. You know, and he's working with Roy Scheider, and Roy Scheider in Jaws and in all that jazz. Roy Scheider had a handsomeness to him, but it was a New York realistic on the streets handsomeness. And now everybody is almost too beautiful. There is no reality of what people really look like in movies anymore. And it's not, I'm not talking about matinee idols of the 40s. I'm talking about the fact that every teenager on every show, unless they're supposed to represent like the larger girl or something else, is everyone's beautiful. Everyone's beautiful. So why not in Ironheart? Why
Yeah,
do
because
that?
even Molly Ringwald back in like the Breakfast Club days, I mean, or the Brad Pack days, I mean, she was a average looking girl.
She was
like
you
Molly
know,
Ringwald.
I would go further. I would say she was offbeat and unique looking. There was
like
one
she
else
wasn't
that
like
looked
super gorgeous. She was just like the cute girl,
but
you
she
know.
looked different than any other girl.
Right.
You know, and that's what made her, like, if you look at her at the Breakfast Club, she's like the posh girl, but there's something about her that was no other girl looked like her.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that made it interesting.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't have to look generically beautiful like she has an Instagram filter on all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you can say the same thing about Ali Sheedy. You know, I mean,
100%. They looked like real. The characters in the Breakfast Club, although there's no Asian representation there either,
or black,
or black representation.
They're all white.
I'm just saying.
And by the way, love that film. So,
but those
Racist.
people, those look like normal kids. You know, one of my favorite. Go back and you watch. It gets a bad rap, but it's the 50th anniversary of Jaws. Jaws 2 is actually, I think, a pretty worthy sequel. But what's really interesting about that movie is it's about teens cruising, but instead of in cars, they're in catamarans. Look at all the teenagers in that movie. They're all goofy looking. They all look a little maybe too old, but they're all goofy. And you would never see that cast in a major motion picture today. Everybody would be beautiful. And there used to be a time when that kind of normality was I noticed the change in a movie called She's All That with Rachel Lee Cook and
oh god, that movie.
Rachel Lee Cook, beautiful girl, but she's supposed to be ugly because she's wearing a one piece. She looks incredible in a one piece and glasses, and that's it. And she's like nobody.
Not another teen movie, Lampoon.
Nobody would look at Rachel Lee Cook in a one piece on a beach going, that girl's frumpy, and I wouldn't want to date her.
Well, that started the trend of the ugly pretty girl, right?
That was so weird.
That's the thing is in the 80s and 90s there were two type of women. There was the hot girl you couldn't get, and
Pamela Anderson.
There's the good-looking girl you probably could get.
Yeah,
and I think that's what really brought people, at least young teens, into the audience. And the other thing, John Hughes had a memorable Asian character.
Oh God,
The donger needs food.
The Donner.
Long Duck Dong.
Long Duck Dong.
Long Duck Dong.
How did they get away with that?
You know what?
Different time, Dante.
I mean, it's just funny because when Long Duck Dong made his appearance, along with Mickey Rooney, it was just this idea of that finally we're on screen, even if it's the most racist character imaginable. We're finally represented, and let's just say in the 80s and 90s it was a very slow trickle, and things really didn't pick up until Joy Luck Club came along. And
to be fair, though, he was an exchange student.
Before people get on me, I'm talking about American films. I'm not talking about Chinese films. I'm not talking about imports. I'm talking about Hollywood made films. And we were very much trickles. Really not until Mulan, I think, is when it's like, okay, we're getting some representation, and then Joy Luck Club, and then 10 years later we got Crazy Rich Asians. So and then we won an Oscar with Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to move on to our next topic. And let me set it up this way. Let's imagine every morning you took your turds and you put it in a bucket.
Yeesh.
And then at the end of 9 days, you decided to say, hey, let's rank those. So let's do that now. We're going to rank.
I thought you were going to talk
I have an
about
article
Solo.
here ranking the top 9 Disney Plus Marvel television shows.
Composting.
All right, here we go. So let's take a look. See if we agree with it or not.
Dark mode.
Number 9 is Secret Invasion. I think we can all agree.
That's fair.
That's right.
What a disappointment. That was the biggest disappointment of my life.
Okay. Number 8 is Echo.
That's
I
fair.
didn't see that either.
7 is Ironheart.
Yeah.
Do we like Ironheart better than Echo? Is that?
I mean, I watched Ironheart, so
Yeah, it's got flying in it.
All right. Number 6,
God.
She-Hulk, Attorney at Law.
Ooh,
I'd
that
rather
might
watch
be number
She-Hulk.
I don't
7 for
know.
me.
Yeah, dude, that might be too high up.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
too high. She-Hulk was terrible.
So worse than Echo, worse than Ironheart.
I think definitely worse
Yeah.
than Ironheart.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
but
worse
this
than
was at least
Ironheart.
It's worse
fun
than
to make
Ironheart.
fun of.
yeah.
That's the big thing. I mean, it had Madison.
It did have Madison.
We all love Madison. The other thing is
That's fair.
the thing that really turned me against She-Hulk was the fact that she is such a bad lawyer.
Yeah.
There's one case that she lost handily that a good lawyer would never have allowed herself to lose,
Yeah.
and that's where I got this idea that writers don't know how to write anymore. They don't do research.
Probably wasn't the best idea to have Jessica Gao, whatever the showrunner, not know how to write a legal procedural when the whole show is supposed to be basically a legal procedural where she turns green every once in a while.
I would be honest. She could throw me over her shoulder, and carry me off.
Yeah. Death by snoo snoo is an honorable death, Mike.
That's a way to go out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 5 we have a tie: Agatha All Along and
couldn't even-
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
They
I
had
would
to
rather
tie
watch, I would
those
rather watch
shows.
Agatha.
You know what? Agatha is fun to make fun of.
I'm gonna say something crazy. I didn't think Agatha was that bad.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it.
If you watch it as a comedy, it's fine.
If you took
Well, I pretty
Marvel
much
off of it and it was just a witch, little lesbian witch
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
it's like a hocus pocus, but not as good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it really, I mean, when you say Marvel and then you say Agatha All Along, what do you have?
Mhm.
Down.
Plus, you got you
down
got
the road.
you have Catherine Hahn, hamming it up, the whole time. It was fine.
Yeah, Moon Knight.
Yeah,
Too high, too low.
I didn't see Moon Knight.
It was
I
barely
actually
in his own
just-
show.
Moon
I
Knight
just
was
started
bad.
watching Moon Knight, and I'm like, okay, I can see like a little bit of where this is okay, but it's kind of a mess.
I like what they
once
did
it,
with the
once it
suit.
became a treatise on mental health, that's kind of when I checked
Yeah.
out.
The
See, I didn't
seventh
even
time
mind
they
that
cut
because
away.
Mark Spector is kind of messed up in the head. I just don't like the presentation of what they did with
But
Moon
it
Knight.
wasn't-
Moon Knight's one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite comics, and what they did was
Horrible.
ridiculous.
never
But
see him.
it wasn't Mark Spector's mental health we were dealing with. We were dealing with mental health in general, and a very,
Right.
it's a very one-sided, one view in terms of what mental health is. And as an old guy, mental health was a whole lot different to me back in the day than it is today.
I'd say that trick of cutting away from all the action and not showing it, you get away with that once, and they did it like 5 or 6
Yeah.
times.
Yeah,
and in
exactly,
all of
exactly.
the episodes, you only see Moon Knight collectively for 7 minutes. Meanwhile, Layla, the female Egyptian superhero, gets far more time. What a
Mhm.
wasted.
Yeah.
All right, number 3, Daredevil: Born Again.
I think
Okay.
it should be lower
Alright.
than Moon Knight.
You like
I think
Moon
that's-
Knight better than? Okay.
I think I think I'd rather watch half of the shows more than I'd rather watch them mess
It's
with
tied
Daredevil
with
again.
Loki.
Okay. Well, Loki is the only series I believe with 2 seasons.
Well,
And I only watched season 1.
Yeah.
They were mediocre at best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch the last
Okay,
season.
and then finally WandaVision. And I would say, oh no, I guess is there one more? WandaVision and Hawkeye.
Oh,
I even forgot
Hawkeye.
Hawkeye.
That's fair, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, these are the best out of the poop. So sure.
yeah.
So what's number 1?
It's a tie between WandaVision and Hawkeye.
I didn't mind Hawkeye. I know it kind of destroyed Kingpin a little bit, but at least he was treated with respect and wasn't like chastised, and he was like a mentor figure. And
Yeah, she actually looked up to him, which is
Yeah, and they at least tried to explain that she went through a bunch of training, being inspired by what Mike was saying you could have done with Riri and Iron. She was inspired by him and seeing his jumping off the roof in the beginning of Avengers. There's at least something there.
Do many of you know the series that this one was supposed to be based off of, the comic book series?
Yeah, the Rick Remender series,
the Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
One?
It was, yeah. I mean, I was like, I really like that series, and I wish that was actually the story. Even though it really, to me, it was bringing Hawkeye down. He is a human being, and now he has an apartment building he has to maintain.
Yeah,
that's the story I wanted. Okay,
I mean, I think this list is pretty right on. I think it's pretty on the money.
I think Daredevil Born Again should be lower, but that's just my opinion.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to our last topic. Something we've been holding off on. Let me bring it up here for a second. But Rob, you've been talking about Project Hail Mary. And
Cookies has been too.
Yes. I missed it at CinemaCon because it was late in the day. Here, let me.
It was the thing I was most looking forward to seeing. It was part of Amazon has acquired MGM, and it was at CinemaCon. Normally people come out and talk and then they show things.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even say anything. They turned the lights down. We knew we were there for the Amazon presentation, and they showed about 8 minutes of the film. And it was, everybody I think was stunned by it. It was epic. It was full of awe and wonder. It was also full of the possibility of apocalyptic doom. And yet the actress from Anatomy of a Fall is in it. There's basically three main characters in the story. There's her, there's Ryan Gosling, and there's another character. And it was stunning. The footage was stunning, the presentation. But what was most important about it was the tone, because the tone of Andy Weir's book, he also wrote The Martian, was very much like the movie The Martian. I think the movie The Martian is incredible. The extended version of it is one of my favorite films of the 21st century. And Project Hail Mary has a similar tone where there's a lot of good humor in the movie, but there's a lot of heartfelt stuff, and there's a lot of real peril in it.
Okay, let me stop you there, and then let's play the trailer and respond to it. It looks funny.
That's pretty good.
I like being excited about things. It's a rare feeling.
Yeah, no, it looks good.
Right. So yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit before about this, but when I saw the trailer for the first time, I'm like, this doesn't feel like the film you're describing, Rob.
No, and I've had people say that to me on Twitter, and all I can say is this is a piece of marketing that is supposed to appeal to everyone in the summer, and it isn't what you are. Well, maybe it is. Maybe they've leaned into the humor. But the movie has so much more. This even represents like the first quarter of the book, what you're seeing here.
It's a tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
There's so much more.
I don't know anything about the story, and watching this, I kind of feel like I didn't want to know that there were aliens. I was kind of bummed that they revealed that. I was like, oh man, that would have been a cool reveal. And also, like, I really like Ryan Gosling as a serious actor. And I felt like, oh, this is going to be like a silly space comedy. But there's also parts of it that look like way more serious than that. And the subject matter is pretty serious. It's like, oh, like everybody's about to die. That sounds kind of sad. So no, I'm definitely interested. I kind of want to see it, and I'm interested in the idea that if multiple suns like across the galaxy are all dying, then there might be other things out there trying to figure out what's going on as well. And I kind of like that idea.
Well, I think that begs the question: does Amazon feel like that? If they brought you the truth of the movie, that it was a true apocalyptic film, that people won't see it, and so therefore we need to throw the levity into it to get people into the theaters.
Well, it depends on the tone of the book, right? I mean, I didn't read the
levity
book,
is there. He is goofy. He is cheesy. He's a science teacher at a middle school, and you can tell that. But he's also a brilliant molecular biologist. But all those things that were in the trailer are in the book. Mm-hmm. It's just there's way more to it. There's way more drama, and there's, like I said before, like this is at the core of the story. It's a friendship story, And it's very early on, this reveal, and I waffled back and forth so many times. Should they show it? But it's really so much happens after that. Like Rob said, it's happens pretty early on in the book. There's so much more, and at the core of it, I think it is the story of friendship in these very strange and desperate circumstances. It's really just the highest stakes situation of survival that you can imagine. And I think it's kind of the thing of that it's not about the reveal so much as the journey. It's not about that revelation, but it's just everything else that happens after that. Kind of similar to like Dune 3. That was revealed that Jason Momoa will return. It's kind of a big reveal for those that maybe haven't seen or read the book, but that's just gotten out there and it's been out there. But it's kind of a similar circumstance where, yes, very early on, how he returns is in there, but it's just so much. The story is after that. So I don't know. I waffle back and forth. I don't know if they should have done it this early. So I don't know. Like, what do you think, Rob, about? I've heard rumors that they were thinking about releasing the movie earlier this December, and I thought that would make sense for this full trailer coming out in summer. But
there's that World of Real story, and I don't know how much credibility, but people said that they screened a 3-hour version of this movie, and people went bananas for it. And I can tell you, the experience of reading this book, I've read a lot of all different kinds of science fiction, hundreds of science fiction novels in my life that I've loved. This is a very much a populist science fiction story, but it does have profundity in it. It does have real emotion and real pathos. And one of the things that I found really interesting about it is, like the movie Arrival, Denis Villeneuve's Arrival, a big component of this movie is how to communicate with somebody that might not understand what you're saying. And when that person is a teacher, and that person is utilizing there's so many interesting things that go on in this. And I don't think they should ever show any of that in the trailer, because that was when you were reading the book, once you establish where you're going, well, now what do we do? And it becomes so wonderful to experience. And there were so many emotions that work with you. The same way in The Martian, you're so with Matt Damon's character and what he's trying to do. And then there's big setbacks, and he's going to die on Mars, and it works kind of, and Drew Goddard, who wrote the script for The Martian, wrote the script for this. So that's another reason to, I think, really be excited about it. But, I think my problem was the thumbs up, thumbs down thing is not indicative of the rest of that film. And I think they should have they could have just ended the trailer. I met an alien today, and he didn't get inside me or whatever, which is my worry. They could have left it there.
I think they should have done it where an object is approaching.
Yeah, or something like that. Because what they did
ship reveal, maybe.
What they did was they turned the awe and wonder of the situation into a comedic beat. And it's there, but the thing is, what it's done is we're 43 years away from ET. So meeting an extraterrestrial in popular culture is no longer, it does not instill the sense of wonder it might have once done so. And what they did was diminish that with the end of this trailer.
Well, even the announcement that the world is coming to an end and then the universe is coming to an end just felt like, it was part of the lightness and tone of it. You compare it to like Interstellar, where you really feel the weight of that news in the trailer that you just don't feel here.
But I do think that the film, the what they showed us at CinemaCon, it was the tone was absolutely perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Like the combination of the scope and scale of the film, the way they laid out the problem, where it was all going. And what was interesting at the end of the presentation at CinemaCon, all they showed you was the suggestion of call it a hand. And that was it. And they ended it there. They did not end on a joke. And you were like, oh, it was breathtaking.
Yeah, I do think they're capitalizing on the summer blockbuster and all these really general audience friendly films. And from the trailer, it is very much a general audience. It seems like a broad appeal, that there's that emotion of high stakes drama, intention, and just beautiful imagery with Greg Fraser's cinematographer who did Dune and the Batman. So that's another reason why I'm excited. But yeah,
I gotta read you something. I don't know.
Yeah, Mike, you gotta go.
Yeah, I got to bounce. Thank you for having me, guys.
yeah.
I appreciate
Thanks,
it. I am looking forward to this. Go see F1. It's really, really, really awesome. And yeah, I'll see you guys really soon. All right.
See ya.
Thanks.
See you guys.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up soon as well.
Let me just say something really quick. I don't know if you know, there's a film writer named Jeffrey Wells. I've been reading for the better part of probably 4 decades. He's a very curmudgeonly guy. People love him or hate him. I've loved him for years. He's an acquired taste. He saw this trailer and this is what he wrote: instant blind hate for Project Hail Mary from the geek brains of Phil Lord and Chris Miller, another jerk-off galactic lone schlubbo protagonist plot from the guys who wrote The Martian, adaptation by Drew Goddard. Ridiculous, egoistic glorification of an oafish, sympathetically flawed, solitary man charged with saving the world. Words cannot express how much I loathe and despise this film sight unseen. 5 seconds after I began watching this fecking trailer, I wanted Ryan Gosling to die. Painfully. I mean, howling agony.
well, he seems fun.
Wow.
I mean, but to me, you know, it's really interesting. I mean, I consider my taste I hit about 80% of the time of what I think. But when I read somebody I respect write something like this, that's an honest response to this trailer. And there's already people that kind of feel the same way because the trailer leans into what has come before in terms of what people can expect. What this movie needed was a different approach.
Yeah, but I feel like the story is there, and the indication in the trailer is that they are faithful to the source material, which is all I can ask for as a book fan. And I think this was definitely catered to do that broad audience appeal. But this is a nearly 3-hour-long movie. We saw 3 minutes of it.
Yep.
And we are in for a roller coaster ride. And from little what we've shown, it's very faithful, and we are in. If it's like the rest of the film, which is in line with the story, we are in for a cinematic experience to remember for years to come, like E.T., Contact, Interstellar. And there's an argument to be made that it should have leaned into more of the serious, tragic, dramatic moments. And those are definitely there and the inklings of it in the trailer. But this story is such a beautiful combination of humor and heart, as well as that high stakes drama and hard sci-fi. This is going to be an emotional roller coaster in a good way. We're in for a treat, and hopefully it'll be in December. But I think we all are. I don't know. As a book fan, I couldn't be more excited. But also just as a fan of going to the movies and having that incredible cinematic experience, this is going to be one of those times. Movies.
Yeah, but the issue is it's a 3-hour movie, and now you're basically saying, "Hey, get ready for 3 hours of this." And I think that's to the point.
Well, what is it a 3-hour movie these days?
I know, but oh man, when you
F1 was almost 3 hours. Mission
Yeah.
Impossible, both Dune movies.
Yeah. Well, what I think needs to happen is the director needs to come out and talk about how the movie inspired him and his dog and things like that. So, hey, well, that's today's show. I want to thank you. I'm looking forward to it in spite of the trailer. Let me see. Here we go. So let's
word.
we got super chats to get through. So yeah, do it.
Man, trailer timer is fun on Paramount, YouTube. Yeah, full trailer comes out tomorrow. And then 2 cents I can see says, does Ryan become iconic? Yeah. He already was.
All right, here we go. Let's give us your what you got coming up, Dante.
What's up, guys? Follow me on Verbal Riot, Rumble, YouTube, and X. And I have videos planned, and I will be doing VRL this Thursday at 6 p.m. PST.
Badgercast, like right now, the next 30 minutes. Links in the chat. Thank you, Lori.
Links in chat.
Hello, you can find me here at YouTube at Nerd Cookies. I did a stream this morning breaking down the Project Hail Mary trailer if you want to check that out. And I should have a video coming out today about Denis Villeneuve's Bond film and how that affects his Rendezvous with Rama adaptation. But yeah, look for more Project Hail Mary and Dune stuff coming out. So stay tuned. Thanks again.
My Nerdy Home on YouTube, Instagram, and X. More Ironheart reviews coming soon. Yay!
Well, on the same thread of the article I just read on Jeffrey Wells' site, I was called a fanboy whore and that my commentary gives fanboy whores a bad name. Well, you know what? I mean, I think I'm a pretty good fanboy whore. And if you're a fanboy whore customer of mine, I always give good whoredom. So
Robert,
find me on YouTube.
You
Yes,
are
Robert.
the fanboy whore, but so we all are. That's why we're here.
Yeah,
Check
we
out
exalt
Pluto.
you as the fanboy whore. And, Chris. Okay, so odds are Chris will be back on Wednesday, and we've got a great show for Hollywood on the Rocks, and we got, oh man, what's coming up on Friday? Jurassic Park. We're gonna be able to review Jurassic Park on Friday. So join us for that. Want to thank our mods, Lord Thoth and MK Solid, and of course Atomic Lori and Glenn Nuccio in the background. So with that,
I'll do it. Alan?
yeah, let's get out of here.